So this is my 84 Bronco 2. You've probably seen it in a few other videos. This here is the current engine, a 2.8 V6 that is worn out and blows just a little oil. This is the engine that's going to be swapping in it. A 2.3 liter 4-cylinder from an 88 turbo coupe with 190 horsepower and 240 foot-pounds of torque, factory specs. Here is the rig going in the shop to pull the engine. This is the factory location for the emission control module, which I'll be using to mount the computer for the new engine. It's the same size and mounts just the same way. Here's the easiest way to remove the junk exhaust, nothing like a sawzall. Old motor out. Parts Bronco in. You won't need this if you already have fuel injection. This is the easiest and cheapest way to get all the lines, pumps, and tanks. Here is the location for the high pressure pump. One of 2 frame mount filters. Here's a better view of that. Start of removing wiring for fuel pumps. Here's a common ground for the system. Pretty much what you're going to pull out of all that mess. Here's a simplified and organized. All the tanks, pumps, filters, and electrical. The new engine that was in storage. Got it set up in the shop to go through electrical. A little bit of required reading and also a lot of research online. My harness here happens to be a repinned Ranger harness, so it has lots of similar plugs, but needs some attention from the previous owners, not quite doing the best job. Here is the ECU and fuel pump relay, main body plugs that go to the driver's side. Here's the wiring harness all fixed up and loomed. Good time to clean out oil from the engine bay. Here's a start of fuel system install. Here's the old tank out. Making the fuel pump clear the proportioning valve, not quite meant for it on the frame fuel pump. A little bit of tight fit, but making it all work out. Here's removing the excess metal from the forward fuel filter, make it clear stuff. Frame location for that filter. Pump and filter all plumbed. Now the rear fuel filter. Have to drill a few mounting holes for it. Run fuel lines back to the tank. Use factory plastic lines and the factory retainers. Had to shorten this fuel line. Used ends from the plastic line and got some rubber fuel injection hose, cut to length. Inserted it into the rubber hose and just clamped it down with some hose clamps. Here's checking out the new tank, make sure it's clean, no rust or anything in there. Also check out the float and good, make sure there's no holes or fill the gasoline. Here's the sender plug from the old tank that I cut out. Wire in sender plug into existing harness and run new harness for fuel pumps. Install new tank and plug it all in. Time to make sure the transmission will work. This is a 4-speed 4-cylinder transmission, a Toyo Kogo 4. Input shaft for a 4-cylinder. Input shaft for a V6 that's longer, and this one is a Toyo Kogo 5-speed. The 4-cylinder is about 3 inches long. The V6 is about 4 inches long, 1 inch longer. The solution to that problem. A hose clamp makes a straight cut. Give it a bevel with the grinder and hand file. What 4-cylinder motor mounts look like. Found this on a truck at the wrecking yard. The frame side 4-cylinder Ranger motor mounts are different than those for a V6. Have to drill new alignment holes in the frame to make it work. Now try to bolt it all in. This does require a different bell housing on the transmission, but I did not already mention that. Passenger side mount lines up pretty good. The driver's side is about a ½ inch off though. So I removed the driver's side motor mount and left engine supported with the cherry picker. A little bit of grinding later, and it all lines up pretty good now. Made a custom washer to secure the mount on top. Now ready to start routing and hooking up the other stuff. The main harness routes the same as the V6 harness. The grommet through the firewall fits perfectly. I'm getting a little bit closer here. I wanted the intercooler to set level, so I got a chunk of Industrial Gates brand radiator hose that is really rigid, and it worked pretty well. This is checking the heater box clearance. Just a small issue. Cut it a little bit to fit. Use electrical conduit to get a good radius here. Filled in with JB weld. I lined it with fiberglass insulation and reflective tape to insulate it from the hot exhaust. Now it fits like a glove. I plan on relocating the O2 sensor, so I need to plug this hole. I got the stainless steel plug on Amazon pretty cheap. Here's the heater box all mounted up and the cooling plumbed. This here is the new clutch slave. I screwed up and cut the plastic line at the wrecking yard, so I got some hydraulic hose and made it work. A few more goodies from Amazon. Here's building a fan shroud from the original to mount an electric fan. Mounts up nice to the radiator and flows good. Holds this rag up well. I want a real cold air intake, so I'll have this in line with the hood scoop for the intercooler. It's easy to build with piezo boxes and transfer it to metal. This one was a little bit of a pain in the butt to bend up, but I got it to work. Filter fits pretty nice in there. I cut a hole out and used a 3-inch pipe to attach the filter. I picked up a mandrel bent 180 degree 3-inch exhaust pipe from Jegs for the air intake. It sets a little high, so I had to cut it down. All cut down and welded back up. Also added a plate to secure it to the air box. Sits nice and level now with the intercooler. Got all loaded up to go to the exhaust shop and get a full 2.5-inch exhaust with the glass pack. Now to upgrade some of the instruments. Here's the location for my boost gauge. I used a hole saw, some patience, and some finagling to cut the hole out. Fits good and looks nice. Had to do some wiring to get this newer instrument cluster to work. All installed. Upper right is oil and temp. Just a few things to check over before starting. Well, the tach's not working. I got 20 pounds of vacuum and 60 psi of oil.
How many?
60. Well, 65. That started amazingly. The tach's not working. I probably wired something wrong. A little bit of smoke burning off the turbo from oil and whatnot, but nothing too outrageous. Here and record at the same time. Got it set at about 15 pounds of boost. Nice little straight right here. Oh, it's fourth gear. This is a manual boost control. I don't have the factory unit. and if I did, it would be running low boost as I have an automatic transmission ECU. I can manually adjust my boost level with this. I decided I wanted to build a heat shield to keep heat off the intercooler by using the old space heater. Not perfect, but it should work. I eliminated sharp edges by cutting a hose and sliding over the metal. Worked pretty good. It's always good to do a tune-up. This photo here is a plastic retainer cover for the clutch sleeve that I don't have and can't find. So I made this one here out of some scrap metal. Here's an outline of the intercooler and air intake location. Just need to cut it out. And it lines up pretty good. Time to build a hood scoop. I'm using a Jeep Cherokee hood that I'm going to cut out for this metal. Bent and welded up, starting to look like something. It's a good time to fix some leaky gutter rails while I'm waiting on other stuff. Also install some nice seats and a headliner. Tossing some paint on my creations. Also adding some custom details. I find this a fitting name for it. Looking good and almost all done, at least I thought. 100 miles later and that 7.5er blows out on me. Time for an 8.8 out of a 97 Explorer with 373 gears and a posi. This is a 7.5 on the left and the 8.8 on the right. Picked up these pre-cut purchase from Skies Off-Road for only 30 bucks. Heck of a deal if you ask me. Also got an angle finder to set a pinion angle. Just matched it to the one that was on the factory axle. The 8.8 requires purchase welded on as the Explorer's spring under also needs new shock mounts. All welded up and almost ready to bolt in. Here's what I had to do for make a drive shaft work. The left yoke is the factory one out of the Bronco. The right one is from a 90s Ford Explorer, front output on the transfer case. The 8.8 runs a bigger U-joint and you need it for the added power also. For my setup with this TK5 transmission, the front drive shaft out of the same Explorer works out perfectly for the rear. You just bolt up the new yoke on the rear of the transfer case and bolt up the drive line and good to go. Before putting it all in there, I painted up the axle to make it look good and put my own personal touch on it. Had to do some switching around on the rear brake lines. This here is the factory Explorer driver's side hose. It has the main body line attached to it, and I wanted to use the main line from the Bronco that is center mount on the axle. Bought a passenger side hose and put it on the driver's side, and then cut and flared the hard line in the center. Well, I hope you liked this build video. First time for me doing a voiceover. There are some things I didn't include, but most is there. If you're looking to do this swap, do lots of research. This setup is great for smaller stock size tires. I'm getting V8 power with factory economy. I'll be posting some more videos of this later. Stay tuned.